So we released the results of the first annual interactive ad IQ survey today. The purpose of the survey was to identify two things. One is, are there gaps in the way that we as an industry are articulating and demonstrating the value of our advertising platforms, that because of those gaps, we're not garnering all the ad revenue we should be getting? Maybe an advertiser is confused about our platform, and so we're not explaining it well, easier to go somewhere else. That was the first objective. The second thing was to determine if there are gaps, how does the industry want to close those gaps? What's the process? How are we going to get better at that articulation? And we found a couple of interesting things. First of all, about 75% of the folks that took the survey said that social media and mobile platforms were very important to them. Yet about a quarter of those same individuals said that they were uncomfortable in some way demonstrating and articulating that value. That's a new platform, so maybe that's a little expected. But then when we turned over to other platforms, for example, search and exchanges and DSPs, about half of the audience on both sell side and buy side said that those platforms were important to them. But about a third each. Publishers said, about a third of publishers said that they were uncomfortable articulating why search would be important in an advertiser's media mix. And about a third of the buyers, advertisers and buyers, said the same for platforms such as exchanges and DSPs. And that was kind of surprising. Those have been out there. But the most surprising statistic, 85% of folks said that online video was an important part of their job. What we expected that. It's a pretty hot area. But almost 20% of respondents in that category said they were uncomfortable articulating the value of online video. And I'm saying to myself, online video, isn't that like TV online? We've been doing that since the 50s. So that was a very surprising statistic. We didn't stop just at the platforms. We tried to get some underlying data on what was it about doing your job, or analyzing data, or using tools, or applying knowledge. What was it about those underlying skills that might make one uncomfortable about articulating the value of a platform? And we tested 10 different categories, and within those about 47 specific data points, where we asked folks, where were you least comfortable for those things that are important in your jobs? And a few rose to the top off the top of my head. Using certain data analytics and performance data. That was an area that had high volume of importance, but in the area between 25 and 35% uncomfortable. Yield management and inventory optimization were other areas with more than 50% said, I need to do this for my job. But again, in the 20s and 30s of those people, 20 and 30% of those people said, I'm a little uncomfortable with these tools. And then the application of standards such as voluntary ad format standards and privacy standards also rose to the top. In fact, one statistic that stood out, I think it was 38% said that it's important that I be able to explain how my company complies with our privacy policies and implements them, but I'm uncomfortable doing so. And our view is that if you can't make an advertiser comfortable, if you can't make it easy for an advertiser to buy on your platform, it's easier for them to go elsewhere. The second part of our survey, as I said, was to find out what do we do about this. 60% of respondents said training. I want training. I either want it for myself or I think it should be developed for my colleagues. And 65% of respondents said there weren't enough training options available in the marketplace today, which indicates that there's a need for this. Interestingly enough, 55% of people who responded to this survey said, if you did all that, that's great, but I don't have the time for training. But it's not good enough that the IAB create the training. Companies in this space have to provide enough time for their employees to take the training. So that's kind of the output of the survey. The IAB is now going to go forward and create specific training programs around those platforms that had the highest number of individuals that said they were important, but also at a discomfort level. And the same for those skill sets where specific knowledge and skills had to be improved. And the other thing they're going to do is try to create a certification program around certain of those specific skills so that it will be easier for hiring managers to identify qualified candidates and train those candidates and keep their skills up to a standard. Those are two outputs from the survey. One of the things that the IAB wants to be able to do is provide to individual training managers, HR managers, hiring managers, the ability to roll out the survey to their employees and effectively gauge their employees' ad IQ by job function, by title, slice and dice the data different ways. And so the thinking is, not only will the industry take this survey on an annual basis, but individual companies can use it as a tool to design in-house training programs or to leverage training programs that the IAB has already developed. So it becomes a nice tool, and I think it's Michael Theodore over at the IAB that's going to be the point there.
So does that imply that the people who answered the survey were more kind of senior management, not kind of the 24-year-old employees?
We had an unbelievable cross-section of survey takers. 65% of those who took the survey, if I remember my numbers correctly, were below the vice president level. But that still means that 35% were above that level, or that level and above. And the majority of folks had greater than 5 years experience in this industry. So we did get junior folks, we did get new folks, but we got seasoned professionals as well. There's a page in the survey, and you can go to the iab.net/adiq to get the presentation that shows who responded. We had 642 participants who completed the survey from all walks of life within this industry. Buy side, sell side, different experience levels, and different sizes of companies. So it really represented, I think, an excellent cross-section of the folks here at the conference and the folks who work in this space.